These countries are calling us up, kissing my. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything, sir. The happiest people in the world would be China.
China coming out with these headlines saying it's the next step in the trade war. It's going to be imposing retaliatory tariffs of 84% on U.S. goods. That starts on April 10th.
When they see a little story like that, the other side, it hurts your negotiation, and then the fake news wants to build it up, and it has no chance anyway. But we have to remain united.
This just happened. China just announced an 84% tariff on U.S. goods.
In a stunning move, China has just imposed an 84% tariff on U.S. goods, signaling that their response is far more than symbolic. It's a bold, full-scale retaliation. And this is only the beginning. Beijing has drawn a clear line. They are not backing down. This is a decisive move that shows China is done waiting on the sidelines. After months, if not years, of observing and exercising restraint, China is now taking aggressive action to push back. The message is unmistakable. They refuse to be bullied. This isn't just an economic decision. It's a strategic maneuver to preserve national pride, image, and influence on the global stage. President Xi cannot afford to appear weak, and this tariff hike is a warning shot to the world that China is ready to compete fiercely. And the retaliation doesn't stop at tariffs. China is also targeting specific sectors, beginning with restrictions on rare earth exports, critical materials used in everything from smartphones to defense technology. By limiting these resources, China is hitting the U.S. where it hurts most. The impact will be deep and far-reaching. Beyond that, export controls on key American firms are in the pipeline. These moves are designed to disrupt U.S. supply chains and slash corporate revenues. For companies heavily dependent on Chinese markets, the pressure is mounting fast. This is a calculated strike meant to leverage the U.S.'s economic dependence on China. The fallout is already being felt. Fear of escalation is gripping U.S. markets, and businesses and investors are growing increasingly nervous. A trade war of this scale could spiral quickly. Trump's administration faces a tough choice: retaliate and risk all-out economic war, or hold back and appear weak. It's a high-stakes balancing act with no easy answers. Market volatility is rising, and the economic landscape is growing more uncertain by the day. Companies are being forced to rethink their supply strategies, but alternative sources won't come quickly or cheaply. The effects of these moves will likely last for years. Meanwhile, Beijing is keeping more cards up its sleeve. Among them, a possible sell-off of U.S. assets, including Treasury bonds. Such a move could trigger financial panic and send shockwaves through global markets. With China holding significant U.S. debt, this is a threat that cannot be taken lightly. In short, the U.S.-China relationship is at a breaking point. What began as a trade dispute has now evolved into an economic confrontation with the power to reshape global commerce. Globalization as we knew it is unraveling. Nations are turning inward, and the consequences of this shift will be felt across industries and continents. The world is watching. The stakes couldn't be higher. Global trade was once driven by the principle of mutual benefit, but that era is quickly fading. Nations are now prioritizing their own national interests, and at the forefront of this shift are the United States and China, both moving away from the cooperative frameworks that once defined their economic ties. For businesses, this shift signals a critical turning point. Companies that built their models around global supply chains are now facing unprecedented disruption. The landscape has changed almost overnight, and many firms are struggling to keep up. Adaptation is no longer optional. It's essential for survival. This economic standoff carries enormous stakes. Both the U.S. and China are locked in a power struggle, determined to come out on top. But the question remains, at what cost? For the United States, the effects are already being felt. Tariffs are driving up costs, and American consumers are beginning to feel the impact. This isn't just a matter of trade policy, it's a challenge to economic stability. As prices rise across everyday goods, households will be forced to make difficult choices. Reduced disposable income could trigger a broader economic slowdown. Meanwhile, China is under intense pressure as well. Backing down is not an option for Beijing. The government's credibility and President Xi's personal authority are on the line. China's retaliation must project strength, both to its domestic audience and to the international community. This is as much about national pride and political messaging as it is about economic strategy. China's moves are also calculated to maintain its influence globally. By standing firm against U.S. pressure, Beijing aims to reassure its allies and demonstrate that it can resist American dominance. This is a carefully planned effort to strengthen China's geopolitical standing. The consequences for the U.S. consumer are direct and severe. Everyday goods are becoming more expensive, putting a strain on household budgets nationwide. As families cut back on spending, the broader economy could feel the drag. One clear example is in the agriculture sector. China no longer depends on U.S. imports for food. They've diversified their sources, leaving American farmers exposed and vulnerable. American businesses are under immense strain. The rules of global trade are shifting, and companies must now navigate an environment filled with risk and uncertainty. Tariffs are eating into profit margins, and firms with heavy exposure to China are among the first to suffer. Many are already seeing sharp revenue declines and are being forced to reconsider their long-term strategies. There's also growing anxiety over possible future retaliation. Businesses are caught between lobbying the U.S. government for intervention or preparing for continued fallout. The pressure is mounting across sectors, but none more than in technology and aerospace. Companies like Apple and Boeing are especially vulnerable. Boeing relies heavily on Chinese purchases of aircraft, and any disruption to that demand could be devastating. The tech sector, too, is deeply intertwined with Chinese manufacturing and consumers, making it particularly susceptible to any further escalation. A drop in orders could severely damage revenue streams from major U.S. companies. At the same time, tech giants now face growing risks in the Chinese consumer market as backlash builds. And it's not just tech, the green energy sector is also feeling the heat. With China tightening restrictions on rare earth materials, innovation in electric vehicles and clean energy technologies could be severely disrupted. This comes at a pivotal moment for industries working towards sustainability. The timing couldn't be worse. We are at a critical inflection point. The potential for escalation in this economic standoff is real and growing. Both the U.S. and China are digging in, and with every new move, the stakes rise higher. China's aggressive countermeasures aren't just defensive. They're a clear signal that they're prepared for a long-term economic confrontation. This is no longer a series of isolated policy decisions. It's shaping up to be a prolonged trade war, with global markets hanging in the balance. Every action provokes a reaction. Now the U.S. faces a stark choice: respond with further retaliation or pursue a path to de-escalation. The pressure on both governments is intensifying, and the world is watching closely. The next move could trigger serious consequences. One of China's boldest strategies is its move to restrict exports of rare earth elements, materials that are critical to the production of smartphones, defense technologies, and green energy solutions. This is a calculated power play aimed at weakening U.S. industrial capability. The implications are wide-reaching. Any company dependent on rare earths will be forced to rethink supply chains and production strategies. This isn't just about economics anymore. It's about control and global influence. As China strengthens its hold on these crucial resources, the U.S. must adapt rapidly or risk falling behind. And beyond all this, we may be witnessing something even more significant: the unraveling of global trade as we knew it. The interconnected system that once defined international commerce is being replaced by protectionism and strategic self-interest. Nations are turning inward, prioritizing domestic strength over cooperation. The ideals of mutual benefit are being swept aside by a wave of geopolitical fear and uncertainty. Businesses must adapt to this new global reality or risk being left behind. The implications are profound. As global trade fractures, the potential for economic conflict only grows. The landscape is shifting fast, and the fallout will be felt across every corner of the world. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on global economic developments.